everybody, welcome to MUSE TV. I am Michael Sandoval, and I am happy to have the people behind Lupe, which is coming out next Friday, February 26th on HBO Latino, HBO Max. We have writer-director André Phillips, Charles Viola, executive producer Kerry Michelle O'Brien, and star Rafael. I saw the movie, and it's an amazing piece of work. I loved it. I thought it was a very good story. Well, where did it all develop from? And can you please go into how did it all get started to produce and make this film?
Sure. Initially it started with, Chuck and I having an idea. We wanted to make a film. We were looking at a couple different stories and kind of exploring a couple different options. And during that process, we had a few conversations that were particularly important with Celia, and that really started driving the initial seed of the story and kind of learning a lot more about her experience and others who, were in similar, if not different circumstances, and kind of just realizing how little we knew and understood and how intense some of these stories were, and it kind of just built from there. I think a lot of it was driven by just kind of learning from other people and kind of furthering that discovery as we went. Yeah, that sounds right.
That's pretty much it. It was, we knew we wanted to make a film. We didn't know the story, like Andre said, and getting in touch with a friend of ours who was transgender and talking to her and learning from her. And she kind of helped us put some of the ideas together. She eventually actually even was in the film. And then it kind of snowballed. And then we were fortunate enough to meet Rafael and fortunate enough to meet Kerry, and everyone else on the team just started forming. And then here we are.
Awesome. And Kerry, how is it to produce a film like this? Because it's so important these days to show diversity and show different views from different people all over the world. And especially coming from a Latino audience, it really did impact me seeing what I saw on the screen.
Well, for me, I came in late in the party. I came in during post. Shiran, the editor, approached me to give her notes on the film because we've been chatting in forums, and she knew I was transgender, and she just said, "Oh, can we meet for lunch?" She pitched me the project, and then I looked at it, and I was just, it took me 3 days to get notes back to her, and she was like, when are you going to give me notes? When are you going to give me notes? And I said, I'll give you notes when I stop crying, because the story just hit me just so hard. So even though it's about a Latino individual, the idea of being an immigrant, obviously I'm not from the US, you can tell by my accent, the idea of being an immigrant and not knowing where you belong and where you fit in society and how you fit in society and how people judge you and then appreciate you when they get to know you. It was just a very, very strong story. So I was so blessed that these guys wished me to be involved and sort of garnered my input.
And Rafael, your acting is so good in this film. Like, you feel every emotion, you feel what you're going through. You could tell the pain, you could tell how you feel towards your sister. How was it to read the script and try and convey all those emotions? 'Cause I could picture it being really hard to like really delve into that character.
Yeah, like as soon as I got cast, I went to the library. I was like, back then, we're talking about, this was 8 years ago, right, guys?
6.
6? Yeah, 6. Yeah, I was in New York. I was coming out of grad school, and back then I was identifying myself as a gay man. So I knew about transgenders, and I knew about the community, but I had no knowledge whatsoever to the depths of where the spectrum can take you, and I knew that I had a huge responsibility with this role, and I wanted to play it and pay justice as much as I could. So I went immediately to the biographies of Janet Mock. I went and read out pretty much an entire encyclopedia of transgender identities and transgender politics and transgender, like social situations. And like, the more I read and the more I read about femininity and about gender in itself, I started not only discovering the role, but I also started discovering myself. And something really beautiful that I feel that happens in the film is that, yes, we see the character of Rafael finding herself within the movie, but in a way, I also personally was finding myself and my identity as a person. So I feel like that's something that it's truly captured in the film. And I mean, it truly changed my life. You know, today, like 6 years ago, after the experience of having played this role, I, you know, I can see I present myself as non-binary, you know, and it all started with this role 6 years ago. So yeah, Lupe also changed my life.
I'd like to leap in there as well. Lupe came to me when I was early in my transition. I only came out as transgender in 2017 when I was consulting at Disney, which was an interesting prospect. And actually working on Lupe, it allowed me to help explore some of the issues and some of these sort of things that Rafael identified in sort of, you know, how do we discover ourselves? And through working through someone else's issues, be it in a narrative, you help discover yourself and grow. And I've grown so much being involved with this film too.
Yeah, because that's the one thing
Same.
that really points out in the film is the fact of, because Raphael, I don't want to give too much away because people have to see this film, but I'm like, to go through the fact that to find out about searching for his sister, searching for family and trying to deal with the family issue, but also trying to deal with himself and trying to find who he is or she is what the story is just really grabbing because it's so, the story is so well written, well done. Uh, how difficult is it to bring this to screen because the story is such it's an overall universal story and it's such a well done and well written. Tell us, how did you bring this to the screen? Because film festivals really love this film.
And which, you know, so incredibly thankful for, you know, because it's always terrifying putting stuff out. But, you know, I think one of the ways that, at least from a story perspective, that we were able to bring it to screen was, like, as I said in the beginning, you know, a lot of conversation, but a lot of, you know, we didn't have a lot of resources, to put it mildly, and everything we had to do, you know, that we did their initial round of filming and we saw what story was there and what was working, what wasn't working. We went back and shot again, and then we did so one more time to bring the story together. So, you know, part of, I think, everything being hyper collaborative in the production and sort of being very, I think, open to certain amounts of change and certain amounts of flexibility, was, we had to be that way because of our lack of resources. But I think us and everybody involved in the project was really able to lean into that and actually turn it to our advantage. I think we ended up with a significantly stronger ending to the film than we would have, I think, based off the initial writing of it. I think we ended up with significantly more nuance and power within the characters through that process. So yeah, so I think it was a combination of being incredibly open during the sort of like the discovery and letting that process kind of go the entire time. And then also taking those times to reorganize, and then eventually really everything really started to come together in this incredible way when we brought in our editor Sharon, and that was really sort of all the stuff that we'd been swinging at and trying really kind of got pulled together. So
Yeah, I'd also like to say the fact that the boys were so open to discussion and sort of input, and also they're so sympathetic to what's actually going on and what we're actually feeling. You know, again, not to give too much away, this is a film in which there's actually a transgender happy ending. You know, we're not some serial killer or sociopath, you know, and it's just such a beautiful, sympathetic way of dealing with it. And there was one scene where the boys wanted to have sort of truncate it, and me and Sharon were very much a case of, no, you can't make this shorter. You know, have you ever lost everything? Have you ever been in the position where your world has fallen apart and you have nothing? Well, I have, and I don't think it's long enough. You know, so it was just one of those things. They were just so open to that level of input.
Yeah. And actually, just to say that was actually, if I'm correct about what yours is the shot, Rafael, that you insisted that we get on the day. We were filming in the Bronx there, in your apartment, in what was your apartment, and you pushed us to shoot that shot. And I remember even then being like, boy, this is a lot. And then you give this incredible performance. And we were still, I think, almost, as you said, Gary, like we were kind of hesitant with it. And you guys, you all pushed us to like be a bit braver, yeah,
in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the only thing I'll add to what Andre said is this film, since it was made in sections, it was made modularly. Unlike most films where you shoot for 60 days, whatever, and then you wrap. Because we did it in so many sections, it was required that it was a team effort. If Rafael didn't wholeheartedly buy into this production, and why would Rafael come back for 2 or 3 more rounds? Why would, Sharon originally signed up to edit this thing over a 5-week period. I think she did 2 years on the project. That's a lot more than 5 weeks. Like everyone who joined, even, Kerry came on as a consultant and she's still with us, thank goodness. And if it wasn't for the team sticking with it, we would have been dead in the water years ago. So it was a team effort from the beginning, from day one to today.
And Rafael, in this, with your role, you could be like, easily this could be like a Die Hard type of movie in a lot of ways, because your action scenes are so great. They're the way sometimes, like, there's one scene that you get beat up and you just come back up, you stand up and you start beating everybody up, which is
she's a badass.
Exactly. It's a badass character. What was it like to perform and to play a badass character like that?
It was incredible also because again, like not only exploring femininity, but exploring strength from femininity. And that, again, like I cannot stress it enough. It changed my life. It's like we get so trapped into, trying to define people and trying to define genders and trying to define each other and put each other in boxes, when in reality, all of us have this fire inside. And when passion hits and when we feel threatened and when we feel like we're losing something, that fire activates, and that it's reality to everyone, and having the privilege to explore that from like my femininity and that strength from those places was so fun. It was incredible. I was like, whoa, I didn't know I had all that.
I don't know. So again, just following Rafael's journey through the film and everything else, it helped me accept the fact that I used to be obsessed with trying to pass, and now it's a case of people just have to take me as I am. Sometimes I'm a bit more masculine than I am feminine, but you know what? I'm actually okay with that now. And sort of viewing this movie and working with these folks has helped me with that.
Yeah, it's the same for me. It's like, like everyone like has this visual of like, oh my God, you're such a cisgender man. Like you look like a cisgender man. And I was like, well, like I can look whatever, but like it's not how I look, it's how I feel. And it's how it's how I navigate my energy. Again, like it's like you don't need to put me in a box to try to understand me, because like you don't have to.
I think you're muted, Michael.
Yeah, I'm muted. So I'm still getting used to this technology. This is so different. But I wanted to ask, there's so much excitement when HBO Latino and HBO Max had picked it up. The executives, everybody at HBO Max and Latino are very excited. How does it feel towards you to have a platform like this pick up the film?
Well, if I can talk to that, I think it's very important, especially before we had a change in administration, that films like this are seen, are expressed, people like us are seen and seen in a genuine light. Because, we've been ghettoized so much, and the fact that such a major platform is blessing us with this opportunity to tell an honest and open story, it's fantastic. In my previous life, under my given name, I've had success before, but nothing like this, nothing where we've had the opportunity to go out and talk to people and express and be genuine and show our feelings. I'm sure Rafael feels the same. It's an opportunity for us to talk and be seen and heard in a good light for a change.
Yeah, because movies like us like truly gives an opportunity for the collective to see the humanity in all of us, you know, like especially in these times that we're living in where everything is so divisive and like everything is so black and white, you know, like we have more things in common than what we have apart, you know, and that's the beauty of films like this, and that's the beauty of like films that experience the Latino like experience. Like we are, I think that officially us Latinos are the biggest minority in the United States right now. And we have like not even like 1% of representation in the media. So this just is mind blowing. Like we are thirsty for more stories about us. We are thirsty to be able to see ourselves represented, and you know, this is, it's a huge opportunity. And like that's also I think like why like Andrea and Charles says like everyone that got hands in the project was like, okay, we're in. Like we're in like 10 years, sure. You know, because like this, we recognize the gold and the opportunity. And again, not everyone bet on our stories. You know, big studios are still scared to produce LGBTQ content when LGBT content is like breaking records in every single direction. Like you see shows like right now in HBO Max, Veneno, like from Spain, that is like mind blowing. I think every human being should watch that. You see shows like, you know, Pose. You see the international success of RuPaul Drag Race. You know, it's like this thirst for this content that is truly changing the narrative. And I still don't understand how studios still, when presented with LGBTQ content or Latino content, like, you know, scared, like, and jump back and put all the obstacles for it to happen. And then like people like, you know, us, like Andrew and Charles and myself and Caddy, like we have to like spend 8 years of our lives for a project like this, when a project like this could have been done easily in like a month. You know, but it's people like us that like just have to have the vision that the rich, you know, people in their suits can have. You're welcome. And do that work.
So the other thing is that I want to talk to is this isn't the first LGBTQ movie I've been involved with, or even short, but previously, back in the early 2000s, you know, some projects I did won a BAFTA and also nominated at Cannes and all sorts of other things, but we had to hide the story in an allegory. We couldn't be explicit, because if we were explicit, the you know, the commissioners and the viewers and so forth would turn off. Whereas we just had to hide these stories of, you know, of what we were up to and what we were feeling inside something else that was more accessible. And the fact that Chuck and Andre came along with something that was so open, so genuine and so beautiful, it just blew me away, and that's why I wanted to stay involved.
Yeah, and I mean, everything that you all said is, I think, just so powerful. But I think I think having HBO, you know, pick up the film, I think really is kind of continuing a trend of this little film that, you know, when we started it, I think we had some, you know, we knew, hey, we're gonna hit festivals. That's, you know, we want to make the best film we can. We're gonna go out there and make something really interesting and sort of interesting. But it's when you're on the really tiny end of things, it's pretty impossible to really know what's in store for you and know what's coming down the line, what the challenges that are coming and all that stuff. And you know, it does take a massive, like we said, investment from the entire team. You know, every single person that was involved in the film, you know, who sort of in every dimension. This HBO kind of picking us up is this really kind of a cool vindication of that bet that they made on us and that they made on the story. I think it's obviously incredibly exciting for us, and you know, more exciting than I think we would have hoped for initially. You know, and especially in the dark days when you don't know what you have and you're in the creative milieu and you're just kind of miserable and you don't know what you're going to do next, and all those periods that come with making a project. Ending up where we've ended up is just incredibly exciting, and it's an honor, and I'm so happy that we can share with everybody this kind of news. Like, hey, look, you know, that time we flew to the Dominican Republic for 8 days and stayed in a single house and, you know, worked super hard. Or the times that we froze in the middle of February in Vermont, in New York City, or all of it, literally every crazy difficult part, you know, it paid off. So.
Yep, very grateful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this is one question that I I very rarely bring in my personal life into these questionings, but I had to because I have a cousin who's going through transitioning right now. And I was very accepting of when he told me what it was like to that he wanted to transition. And I want to ask the question, how important are films like this to be able to like be more welcoming and encompassing with people who are going through a transition? Because like I say, family's family, and you always support your family no matter what. And that's where I am. Kerry, can you please answer that?
Sure. So I actually have a really nice story I want to share with you all. Because of the publicity around this film and what Chuck and Andre and Rafael and everybody else did, I had decided to come out to my estranged children in the UK. I have 3 children in the UK, and I came out as transgender this last weekend to them because I used this film as a catalyst to say, hey, you know me as a filmmaker, you know that I'm in the community, well, let's actually talk about why this film is important to me. And it became a vehicle that allowed me to share a very personal story with my children that I didn't know how they were going to respond. They hadn't seen me for 4 years. And I'm hoping that this kind of movie engages people in a dialogue where they go, okay, I know someone who's a bit like this, or I know people like this. Just engage with us and talk with us, because we're just human beings like the rest of you. We just want to be accepted.
I also would like to add to that. Always believe someone. Always believe someone when they present to you as their new self, because we're all of us always evolving. We're not these linear things. We're beings, and we're still like tipping into the iceberg of the discovery of our identities, and like having the courage of like, telling you who I am, or telling or having that trust in you. If someone comes to you with this trust of like sharing who they are, believe them, and not only believe them, celebrate them, because it's beautiful. And that's why films like this is so important, like Kerry says, because it connects us to that humanity. At the end of the day, like, we're humans and we're always evolving, and that's part of the beauty of us and our stories. And I'm so proud to be part of this, and congratulations. That's huge, Kerry.
Thank you so much. It was a big deal, obviously,
Yes, that's amazing.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so if it wasn't for the HBO press release and the fact that I put it out there, I've even put things out on my LinkedIn now. I've got a LinkedIn under my dead name, and I'm even posting as Kerry under my LinkedIn now, which is just huge to be given these avenues, and I'm hoping it gives other people's avenues for discussion and expression.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is, and
that's exciting.
Yeah, that's the best possible thing we could hope for with this project.
Yeah, I mean,
it's amazing.
I think the discovery thing comes. I mean, I think we knew that we were dealing with a story and characters that were perhaps unique on what was out there and stuff like that. But I think we continue to learn how important this film is to others. I mean, it's, I would say, pretty life changing in our own lives for so many reasons. But like, really seeing how important it has been to others, to Rafael, to Kerry, and to people that have talked to us in festivals, that just, I mean, just what you spoke about just now, Kerry. I mean, it's kind of mind blowing, for lack of a better, more eloquent term, when people tell us that kind of stuff, because it's amazing and humbling to hear that your film had impact in the way it did in that way. So.
And that's why I think like films and stories like this need to be seen, need to be told, because it breaks down barriers and it makes everybody welcoming and accepting of everybody. That's my thoughts. I think that's what the power of filmmaking is. And wanted to just final question before we head out. What can you say about the film to the MUSE audience in order to get them to watch next week on HBO Latino, HBO Max?
Watch Lupe, please. It's an exciting story. It's new. They're characters you've never seen before, seen on screen before. As you've all heard, it's something for everyone. So please come, have a watch, or stay at home and have a watch, whatever works.
And the only thing I'd add too is you can support the big studios with the billions of dollars, but you can support the breakout roles and the breakout actors in this, and the breakout behind the scenes crew and team producers that made this. Some of the best people I've ever met in my life. So that's why I'd say go to watch the movie.
Yeah, and watch the movie, because it's not just about a transgender individual. It is about that every person story, that every being story of family and belonging and wishing to know what happened. And especially if you've been estranged from people for a while, you know, you understand what the journey is to try and find out the truth and try and get some family connection back together.
And because it's a good movie, just watch it.
You're fantastic in it.
Yes.
Exactly, and that's what it is. It definitely is a good movie. Thank you so much, everybody, for being a part of this and being a part of MUSE TV. When I first read the story about it, I was like, we have to talk to everybody about this film. It's a great film. Congratulations on
Thank you so much.
HBO Latino, HBO Max. And we look forward to talking with you soon for your next projects.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.